I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. On today's show, I'm going to explore some running backs that the Bears could potentially trade for, because at this point, I think if the Bears are going to add a running back, it'll be via trade or a surprise cut between now and week one, right? They always happen, so there will definitely be a couple that, okay, maybe they add that player, claim them off waivers, whatever the case may be. Because right now, with Nick Chubb heading to Houston, the free agent market, and even with Chubb and J.K. Dobbins, who recently visited with Denver, we'll see what happens there, it's pretty underwhelming, right? I mean, could you convince me that Chubb or Dobbins is better than Kyle Monungai and Rochelle Johnson? Yes, but to play devil's advocate, and I think this is the right move by the Bears, I also would like to see those two young guys in training camp with the pads on, in a preseason game or two before forcing the issue with Chubb or Dobbins, which is what I think the Bears have done. They're like, yeah, we're not that inspired by this free agent group. Let's see what we got with the current crop on our roster, and if we feel the need to add a piece, we'll try to trade for one, or a surprise cut that happens, we will pounce on that opportunity as well, kind of like they did in free agency with Grady Jarrett. They did not expect him to get cut. He did. They did some quick film work, and they were ready to sign him. So those situations do pop up. You got to be ready when they do. All right, coming up next, I'm going to tier out the potential running back trade targets that I've cooked up. I got 10 guys who I think there is a world where they could get traded, some more likely than others, and I've placed them into 4 tiers. So we will do that. But first, you let me know. Do you want the Bears to trade for a running back? If so, like this video. It doesn't have to be some crazy blockbuster trade. It could be 7th round pick for insert a rotation guy. Hit that like button if you would like to see the Bears trade for a running back. Okay, tier 1, high-end starters. Now, to be clear, that does not include like Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley. Like those are like elite starters. They're not available. So high-end starters, I think right now there's one guy who could be available, and that is James Cook with the Bills. He's right below the top guys in the league, and for this exercise, he's in tier 1 based on who could be available. He's pretty unhappy in Buffalo, according to recent reports, so much so that Adam Schefter says he doesn't expect Cook to be in that building anytime soon. He wants a new extension. It sounds like those talks have not been taking place. He even listed his house for sale. Now, that can mean a million things. He's anticipating a new contract. He would just buy a new house in Buffalo if that were the case. But, he seems to be sending messages like, hey, I want a new deal, and I'm willing to take extreme measures if I do not get one. And if that situation were to go south enough, I think he would be the best running back that is available in that scenario. And, I don't think he's available right now. I don't think the Bills would trade him right now. But what if it's August 15th and he hasn't shown up to training camp, and, they're 3 weeks away and they're offering him 10, 11 million bucks and he wants 15 or 16 and they're just far apart and he says, I'm not showing up week 1. Well, then maybe they would consider trading James Cook at that point. He's 10th in all-purpose yards the last 2 years. I think 7th among running backs. He's a very, very good player, and that's with not having a crazy amount of touches. He does not get 350 carries a year like Derrick Henry does, like Saquon Barkley did last year. He has less than 600 carries in 3 NFL seasons. He, in total touches, has less than 750. So he's been very effective when he's gotten touches, and but he still has a lot of tread on the tires. So I would be comfortable giving him a big contract if I was Buffalo. If I was the Bears, I'd give him $15 million a year, 3 for 45, give him 30 guaranteed. Let's call it a day. I would do that. Now I'm not going to give him Saquon money or Christian McCaffrey, 19, 20 million per year, but he's the only high-end starter that can run the ball, catch the ball, do it all, true 3-down back, that could hit the market. I don't buy the Jonathan Taylor stuff. I know people have thrown that out there. The Colts have to win this year. I don't think they're going to, but they have to. So trading their best offensive player would be stupid. Maybe that's a trade deadline type of move, and that could happen. But right now, I don't think that happens. James Cook, at least conceivably, could happen during training camp. Okay, tier 2, quality starters. Guys who could come in and be upgrades over DeAndre Swift, create a new 1-2 punch with this player as the one and Swift is kind of the change of pace guy. I think there's 2 guys that could be available in that role. Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. Now, I've kind of pushed back. I think the Breece Hall thing has silenced a little bit here because they didn't add a back in the draft. Those rumors heading into the draft were more based if they add one. They did not. So I'm not really buying the idea that they would trade Breece Hall unless he asked out, which, there's been chatter that he could be a little unhappy there. Kenneth Walker, different story. We'll outline why that is here in a second. But they've both been very productive in 3 years. In 41 games, Walker has over 2,500 rushing yards, over 700 receiving yards, 26 total touchdowns. In 40 games, Hall has 2,300 rushing yards, over almost 1,300 receiving yards. So they're both well over 3,000 all-purpose yards, 20 total touchdowns. Hall's given a little more juice in the receiving game, although last year Kenneth Walker had a career best in terms of receiving numbers. I think he had like 400 yards receiving last year. And what's interesting about both these players, and technically this is true with James Cook, but he's in a different category, is both are entering the final year of their deals. So, and you see this a lot where teams are like, yeah, we really like you as a back, but we don't believe in paying running backs a second contract unless you're Saquon Barkley, unless you're Christian McCaffrey. And I could see the Jets being like, we like you, Breece, but we're not extending you. I definitely could see Seattle, which we've talked about, being like, we like you, Kenneth, but you've been a little hurt. Zach Charbonnet's got an extra year left in his deal. We just drafted Dameon Martinez, who has some of that physical ability that you do as well. And we have Kenny McIntosh. So, like, Seattle's got 4 backs that they like. So one of Walker or Charbonnet, who we'll get to in a second, could spring loose between now and week 1. So I think both Walker and Hall are upgrades over DeAndre Swift. But I think also that would create a really fun 1-2 punch where they're, the lead rusher in between the tackles guys in particular, but can also bounce it, whereas Swift is kind of more of that pass-catching, home run hitting type. Okay, what say you? Are Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall upgrades over DeAndre Swift? I think they are. Now, it doesn't really matter because I think that would be a 1-2 punch. I don't think you would trade Swift for one of those players, whereas with James Cook, maybe you would trade Swift in that deal, right? And then you go with James Cook and your other backs on this roster. So why for yes, they are upgrades, or in for no, they are not. Get yourself a Caleb Williams jersey for only $100 at chatsports.com/Caleb jersey. Link is in the comments and in the description. We've sold a ton of these so far. Get yourself one before they fly off the shelves. Chatsports.com/Caleb jersey. Okay, tier 3. Guys who could start, but they're probably better 2s than 1s. Not far off from DeAndre Swift. Like, DeAndre Swift is a starter. He's a top 32 guy. At least 1 or 2 of these guys I would put into that category. But ideally, like in a good running back room, they're that number 2 in a 1-2 punch. And that is Tyler Allgeier, who was a starter his rookie year and rushed for 1,000 yards, has been the number 2 to Bijan Robinson the last couple years. Zach Charbonnet, who I think could be a starter, but is probably better suited as a number 2, and has been behind Kenneth Walker, but has started some games with Walker injured. And then Tank Bigsby as well. I don't think he's quite as good as the other 2, but I think he's better than the tier 4 guys we're going to get to. Bigsby, 4.6 yards per carry last year, brings some thump, had over 700 yards last year. I all can serve a role in a 1-2 punch. Again, as a starter or the number 2 guy, but maybe it's 1A, 1B, whatever the case may be. I think all their skill sets, too, mesh well with DeAndre Swift. Allgeier can really, punish defenders between the tackles. Charbonnet's got some of that as well. He's got a little juice also. Bigsby, definitely a between the tackles rusher. So I like all their skill sets and how they would mesh with Swift. And I mentioned Bigsby, too, because Liam Cohen has spoken glowingly about Travis Etienne in Jacksonville during the offseason program, and they drafted 2 backs as well. So if they keep Etienne, they drafted Bashal Tutin and the kid out of Syracuse. Who is it? LaQuint Allen, one of Cohen's draft crushes. Could Bigsby be the odd man out? I think it's possible. So, again, you kind of start looking at these scenarios. Allgeier, I know Atlanta likes him, but final year of his rookie deal, Bijan's their guy. They're going to keep him long-term. Could they trade Allgeier? I think there's at least a world where that possibility exists. All right, stay locked in. If the Bears make a trade, we're going to make a video for you guys here on Chicago Bears Now. If it's a big enough trade, we'll go live. So subscribe, turn on notifications. Do not miss out. And then tier 4, rotation, depth. You're talking about guys who could push Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monangai, not guys who are upgrades. I think the guys we mentioned before, based on what we know, would be upgrades over Roschon and Monangai. Now, Monangai hasn't played. Maybe he's better than Tank Bigsby. Certainly could be, but he hasn't played yet. So, if you're really just comparing to Roschon Johnson, all the guys that we've mentioned so far are clearly better. These guys could be better, and you would put them into a competition with those guys. And, let the best man emerge as that number 2 guy behind DeAndre Swift. Devin Singletary, nice player. I think he's a solid number 2. You wouldn't want him to start. But he's played in multiple offenses and can do a little bit of everything. Antonio Gibson has some power, can also catch the football. I like him as a number 2. I think he's more well-rounded than Roschon. Like, I would take him right now over Roschon if a trade or if he was a surprise cut became available. Dameon Pierce is interesting because his rookie year, he was really good for the Texans. Hasn't played as well the last couple of years. They obviously don't think super highly currently, considering they drafted Woody Marks and signed Nick Chubb. So, would I trade for Pierce? If I did, it'd be like a 7th-round pick, right? Like, I'm not making a huge investment there, but he does have some between the tackles ability and can carry defenders. And then Blake Corum, kind of an unknown. I liked him coming out of Michigan. Didn't love him because I thought he lacked NFL burst. He kind of does. Him and Monangai have similar skill sets, a little undersized, but they can bounce off tacklers. I think Monangai's got a little more juice. Might be a little better of a pass catcher as well. But, if you wanted to bring him in to compete, he could be a guy because they're going to pay Kyron Williams, it sounds like, and they drafted Jarquez Hunter. So Corum right now could be their 3rd guy, which could lead to the Rams looking to pivot. So again, lesser options than the first guys, but it would increase competition at worst, and at best, one of these guys becomes your number 2, right? And is your second back to pair with DeAndre Swift. So there you go, 10 running backs that into 4 different tiers that conceivably could be available for trade. James Cook may never be available, but with everything going on right now, I thought he was worth mentioning, and I think there's scenarios for all these guys that could at least conceivably make sense to get traded. Okay, drop a name in the comments. Name a running back that you think the Bears should trade for. Maybe it's someone I haven't mentioned. Maybe you do think Jonathan Taylor is available. I don't. That feels more like a trade deadline thing if the Colts are having a bad season, but I think they have to lean on him early this year if they want any chance of winning. Okay, appreciate everybody for making it to the end of this video. My name is Harrison Graham. Don't forget to hit that like button if you want the Bears to make a trade for a running back like this video. We'll see you next time. Bear down.